You're listening to Victory by Association with Jeff Tippett, international speaker, best-selling author, and entrepreneur. This is the podcast exclusively for association executives and members. Each week, Jeff interviews association executives about their victories, igniting new ideas for you to create greater value for your members. And now, Jeff Tippett.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Tippett. I am so grateful that you've joined us for today's episode of Victory by Association. Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download as well as a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/VBA. audibletrial.com/VBA. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Check out our show notes for the link. I am so glad today and excited to welcome our special guest, Monique A.J. Smith. Monique, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit here, if you will, about your association background and work that you've done with association. Help our audience get to know you just a little bit.
Well, I'm in athletics. I've been in athletics for 30-some years. And I worked for the CIAA, which is an athletic conference office, for 13 years. And the part I loved about my job the most was professional and personal development. And so when I left there in 2013, I just took that nationally.
Outstanding. Well, do this something, if you will. Tell us something interesting or unique about you that most people won't know, something they won't find on your LinkedIn profile, but might be intriguing to know.
Well, I did work the Atlanta Olympics in 1996.
Oh, wow.
I was basketball and track and field.
That's fantastic. Well, let's get into the meat of our show here today, and let's talk a little bit about the association victory that you would like to share with these executives that are listening to our show. Give us a little encapsulation here of your victory.
Well, I would say my victory is very similar to what you're doing here. It's podcasts.
Okay.
Many people are so very busy, and it lends itself to be able to supply them with information without having them to stop their daily activity. So every week I interview a athletic administrator, a woman, African-American woman, matter of fact, in athletic administration. And I've been doing it for 5 years now. And so you add those times up. And so many people ask me about advice. And I said, oh, no, just go ahead and join our group and you can listen to the advice from others. And that's been very, very productive. And from that, we've had different other branches. When I travel across the country, people say, hi, you're the lady from the Chat in the Garden. And I call it Chat in the Garden because I plant seeds to lead others to greatness. And I grow leaders, I grow people. And thus you see the flowers. And so that's really what it is. It's a way to educate people in a manner that they can do because athletics is a moving target. So you got to catch them while they can. And I would say with sports management being a very hot major, I can't say it's becoming saturated, but it's becoming specialized. And many people don't know the different positions out there. They're now mental health or let's say sports behavioral health. That's a big portion now of athletic administration. You know, you got eligibility specialists, you got the reading specialists. You have different specialized knowledge now that are different from how it was back in the day. And many people don't know how to get their foot in the door, and that's what I provide.
That's fantastic. So let's drill down a little bit right here from a couple of things that you said. First of all, why a podcast? There's so many different ways to communicate to your audience, and especially given like our audience here are association executives, and they're probably association executives wondering and thinking like, should I start a podcast? Is that a way to get my message out to my audience? For you, why did you choose the medium of podcasts?
Well, to be honest with you, I had a publicist who found it for me. I had no idea what that was. The guy, I belonged to a network, and he called it radio. And my undergrad degree was in mass media arts. So I knew how to do radio, live radio, traditional radio. And they were like, oh, you're a natural. And I was like, sure. So the podcast came, and then I said, I want to address my audience, my people. And so funny, with the podcast, it was a requirement to have a Facebook group. The Facebook group grew. I mean, my members are 1,400 plus. And that's where I do most of my communication. But when I tell you, it just took a life of its own. And I will say, if you really want to reach your audience, I have people that I don't even know who listen, because if they don't make a comment, I don't know. But when I travel across the country, that's when I know I make an impact, because they would tell me, and so even with people who may be in transition, mothers who have been staying at home want to get back in. I have been told that listen to the podcast gave them life, told them that they can get back on, as I said, the on ramp to get back into athletic administration. And for me, that's just been great for me.
I love it. Let me ask you another question that you kind of quickly mentioned in your opening conversations here, your opening comments. You talked a little bit about your audience. Tell me again about your audience, because it sounds like you have gone extremely niche with your audience. Like, you know exactly who it is that you're trying to reach. Because sometimes, like, we can have this mindset of it's all about mass. Like, we have to have so many people, when actually that might not be the really true. It might be that we just need the right people. So talk to me a little bit about your audience and how you landed there.
Well, you have to go deep and wide and not wide and deep, okay? Because if you try to market to everyone, you're marketing to no one. And honestly, because I've been a consultant since 2005, before I even began the podcast and began the organization, I was known for one of the first as a pioneer. So people always have asked me about my advice. So for me, it was like, let me spread the need across, because of the fact I knew so many women who were in the business. I've been in it for 30 some years. I interned when I was a sophomore in college in a conference office. So I have been doing this since 1988. Wow. And so many women that I know might have already been in the business and not been an intern, but my years in gives me as an expert. So I want to share the wealth and say, hey, do you know so-and-so? Well, ask her. She'd be a great person for you. And many people call me the connector. So for me, that's gave me a better resource to be able to connect people, to listen and have archives. That's the key. Archive for you to go back to.
Absolutely. I love it. So tell me, it's like, as you were looking at starting your podcast and getting this up and running, were there any barriers or obstacles or things that you had to face, that you had to overcome to get running and get this thing up live and out to your audience?
Well, I was blessed to have a great CEO in Clark Garrison of Survivor Radio Network. So all I had to do was find my guests and plan it and market it. But for me, it was a blessing because it taught me how to sell. I did have to pay my monthly fee to the network.
Right.
And so it made me become creative at how to sell my commercials, which is great now. I mean, this is the part that blew my mind. I do have one live event every year, which I'm having at NACDA, which is the National College Athletic Directors. I'm having a listener appreciation reception, our fifth one. The NCAA called me and asked me, was I having my reception this year? And I said, yes. They said, send me an invoice. We want to sponsor it again this year.
Wow.
So I don't have that problem anymore, but you have to create a product for people to be able to give to. And so when I first started doing the podcast, I charged for shout outs. Who do you want to congratulate, on Coach of the Year or something? And so that wasn't a challenge. It was a great opportunity for me to learn how to create products and to sell them on the podcast to make my monthly fee for the network. And that was good for me because I did not want to do the engineering part.
Right. Well, this is awesome. A lot of associations look for additional revenue streams. And so, what I hear you saying here is that this could be something of this nature, could be something that opens up other opportunities. The podcast itself might be an area for sponsorship, but then there are other things that trickle off of that. So it could not just be a way to get your message out there and pull your target market in and help other people understand what your association does, but it also could be a revenue stream is what I hear you say.
It is. It really is, because you can add it on to other things. Now, most of the time it's the other way around. You're having an event and then you add the podcast to it. But and I'll give you another little tidbit is also your email marketing. You tie that in together. So when I have the podcast, I also have a replay list that some people are not on Facebook, because I do tie it together with it, because I put all the replays in one place. I used to put it on my my website, but people don't really go to a website anymore. You got to go where the people are habitating.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And but it drives them to the Facebook group. But some people just not going to be on Facebook. So I email them the podcast replay. And so then, with that, I'm able to add other advertisement. Usually it's something else that I'm doing, but that gives you an added value to whoever your sponsors are for whatever event or whatever you have going on at your organization.
I think that's fantastic. I love it. Let me ask you this. For our association executives that are listening today, you've probably at least whet their appetite now to think a little bit about podcasts and what they could do. Give us a couple of tips here. If an association executive is listening to you or maybe watching on YouTube today and thinking, maybe this is something I should explore. What are a couple of tips you would toss out?
I would, number one, make a list of potential guests. I'm booked now to January. So that takes all of the stress out. Oh, I got to find somebody for next month. I would advertise by the month, not by individual. Gets everybody excited about it. I would have a Facebook group so people be engaged after the podcast and before the podcast.
Fantastic. I love it. So it sounds like you do some amazing events, some really cool stuff that are out there. And I have to believe that you probably have some volunteers that are part of helping you pull this all off. So if you would give us a shout out to maybe an association superhero volunteer. I think there's just great value in showing appreciation and being grateful for what people do in our lives. Is there a particular association superhero volunteer that you would like to give a shout out to today?
Well, I do, but before I do that, I want to give you a background of what she helps me do.
Okay.
So the podcast is there, but there are paid programming that we have. We have I have a virtual speakers bureau where I help people who are coaches or want to become a consultant, and I call them athleticpreneurs. So kind of want to know how I did what I did, okay? And then I have Advanced Academy, which is a monthly gathering of individuals who may be trying to get into the business, that are trying to elevate to another position within athletics, and I meet with them once a month. And then I have an in-person called Lead Your Ship Retreats. And Michelle Larkin of Yumi Connections has been a total blessing to me, because she's my partner in crime when we create this. I began to have them at my timeshare in Williamsburg, Virginia. And whoever comes in, I do an assessment, depending upon what they need. We create the setting and the speakers, and we bring other speakers in. But she has been with me, and I think I've had 15 to 18 of those, and she's been with me every time. And she even created a spinoff called The Queen's Moves, because that was one of the things we read, that most women don't know how to play the game. Yeah. And the game is being strategic. And so if we teach them how to play chess, then they'll understand how to make moves 5 steps ahead, and to understand the queen is the most important piece on the board. That you have more options than anyone else, but you got to be centered to be able to see all the positions that you have.
Fantastic. Well, Monique, you have been an amazing guest today. You have tossed out so much great knowledge here. And so thank you for being our guest and sharing your expertise with our audience here today. How can people find you?
Well, I like to have engagement on Twitter. And my Twitter is host of chat. My email address is Monique A.J. Smith at seasonempowerment.info. For many now, the older folks are on Facebook again, Monique AJ Smith. And if you happen to be on Instagram, that's where all the young folks hang out. I'm Seeds of Empowerment. And most importantly, really find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I am Monique AJ Smith. And that's where I really like to have professional conversation, on LinkedIn, Monique AJ Smith.
That's fantastic. We'll put all these links in the show notes so the audience can check those out and connect with you and find you online. So again, Monique, thank you. And thanks everyone for listening today and being part of this conversation. Hey, I have a gift for you. I find that crafting the message, getting you the initial conversation, whether it's on a website, email marketing, crafting that initial message is extremely challenging for many groups. I have a free chapter from my book, Unleashing Your Superpower. All you have to do is text the word persuade to 66866, persuade to 66866, and you'll immediately get a free chapter of my book. Hey, and I'll see you all next week as we discover another victory by association.
You've been listening to Victory by Association with Jeff Tippett. If you've enjoyed, please subscribe, rate, and review. Be sure to check out the show notes for links relating to this episode. For information about becoming a sponsor or guest, please email podcast@jefftippett.com.